Hey guys, so today I am going to be showing you how to prevent brush roll failure in a Bissell Crosswave. Now, one of the number one reasons that these machines will come in and have a failure is that the machine will turn on and then it'll turn right off. And what's happening is there's a circuit breaker system that if it senses the brush roll motor jams up, it shuts it off, so it doesn't let it go. And I'm going to show you how to keep this machine cleaned out so that you won't have that issue happening. So the first thing that you're going to do is you can remove your tanks from the machine, and then you can pop this nozzle off. And this one actually is completely clogged up as well, so it wasn't picking anything up. Now, if you are using this machine without pre-vacuuming, then you are going to get a lot of hair wrap around here. And the number one cause of failure is hair wrap that gets into the drive assembly and binds up the bearing. So I'm going to show you how to take this apart and get that cleaned out so that you are going to protect the life of this machine and keep it from having a failure. Now, as you can see, we can pull this brush out and just like this from this blue cap, and then there's a little C-clip here on this side, and we can pop the C-clip loose just like that. Just take like a small screwdriver and you can pop that loose, and then you can slide this out and just take a look underneath it to see if you have anything behind there. So this is what's called a sleeve bearing. So this bearing system, there's not like a ball bearing on this side. It's just a like a bronze oilite bearing. There's a little washer here, and that bearing is like a self-lubricating bearing. So it does good in environments where there's a lot of moisture. So that's a good application for a bearing here. And they do have a fairly good design here that's keeping hair from getting up over into this bearing. So on this side, it's pretty good. Now, on the other side, you can see there's no bearing here, but that's where it connects into the drive assembly. So you can see here, this is what connects directly to the belt system and the motor. And you can already see some of the problem. There's hair coming out of there. So I'm going to show you how to take this apart so that you can get that completely cleaned out and hopefully save your machine. Some machines, if you're looking at this video, you may be too far gone. It may be that the bearing's already bound up, but I'm going to show you how to get to it anyways, and you can determine if you'll be able to save it or not. So the first thing you want to do is flip it over, and then you can get a Phillips head screwdriver, just a normal number 2 Phillips head, and you can take off all the screws that you see on the underside here. You do not have to take off any that are inside of this gray area here. So just the nozzle section that you need to remove the screws. And luckily they're all the same size screws, so you can just put them all in one pile. All right, so now that you've got all your screws out, go ahead and flip it back over. Try to capture all your screws and keep them off to the side there. And they're all the same, so you don't have to worry too much about keeping track. Okay, so now, as long as you got all the screws out, this cover here will lift straight up, okay? Okay, so what that will now what it's going to show expose here is underneath, this is your motor, and this is your belt drive, and then this is your drive assembly right here. Now, I'm going to get it on its side so you'll be able to see. So this is the area we're going to work on. This actually pivots up slightly, which is perfect because you don't have to take any screws out of the motor area here. So it pivots up, and you can see there's another C-clip. So go ahead and get your flathead screwdriver again, just a small one. And now these have a tendency to shoot away if you're not kind of guarding it. So be careful as you're twisting it and flicking it loose. Try to get your hands around there to catch it, so it doesn't fling away and you lose it. Once you get the C-clip off, just going to press firmly, and it may require you to use like a small flat, you know, tool like this that you can just push. And what's going to happen is it's going to pop the bearing assembly out. And you can see this is the way this belt drive goes. Is it's got a flat side. It's like rounded with two flat ends, so it only fits in to this one way here. See that? So that's how it drives, and then it rides on this bearing. So you can see all this hair is built up into this little area, and I think that's by design. But what happens is once enough hair gets up into here, it starts to jump over into this bearing area here, and then it causes this bearing to seize up, and then you'll have problems. And unfortunately, Bissell doesn't make like this particular thing. Like this part's not available, and I believe you have to get the whole new nozzle head. If you have this, if this fails, then you have to get the whole new nozzle head assembly, which is quite expensive at looking at the price of those in the past. So, all right, so we're gonna get this hair cut out, and then I'll show you how to put it back together. And you can just cut it out with a utility knife or pull it off with tweezers, however you want. Now, there's actually already just a little bit of hair that's gotten in between the plastic and the bearing, but not enough to where there's any binding up at all. It still spins perfectly freely, but as I spin it, a little bit of stuff is coming out. So you want to try to get as much out as you can. There we go. It's kind of working itself out. This should be spinning freely. You hold the outside of the bearing and this part here, and it should be spinning freely. All right, so I'm going to blow some air through here, this crack here, see if any more hair comes out, and then we'll put it back in. All right, so I got it all cleaned out, I believe. I can kind of hold it up to a light and see, I don't see any hair still in there. So I think I got it all cleaned up. All right, so the next thing you're going to do, and now we're just going to reinstall it and kind of go back in reverse. So we're going to, you're going to want to be pushing this belt drive. That way you're going to be essentially you're going to be putting tension on the belt, and you're going to be aligning this part up here back in place, and it'll slide in there and pop in there just like that. And then you're going to go ahead and put your C-clip back on. Just hold it there and take a little pair of pliers. Just in the view here. Get a little pair of pliers and then just squeeze it until it pops in place. And there you go. You've got that drive assembly all cleaned out, free of hair. And then while you have it open, you can, take that opportunity to wipe this out and clean it, which is what I'm going to do. All right, real quick, while you guys have this apart, you might as well pop loose this assembly. So this is held in by two little tabs here, so you can pry those loose, and then it's got two tabs here on the front side, which you can get access to from this end here. So you can push those tabs out from inside right here with a flat screwdriver. Just kind of pry those out and pop them loose like that, and then you can start pulling that up and work this out here. And what that's going to do is give you some access to clean out these wheels too and their axles. So you've got hair wrap there that will affect how this thing pushes. If these wheels get clogged up with hair enough, then they'll stop turning. We'll get flat spots, and then you'll have a hard time pushing the machine over your floors. So clean those out too. We're gonna go ahead and put it back in. Put that back in place, and then flip it back over, and then we can go ahead and put our hood assembly back on. You're going to be able to lower this back in place easiest when this is lined up in the middle here. If it's turned, it's going to be a little more difficult to put this back on. All right, so Next, you're going to flip this around, and then you can just put your screws back in. Also, we're going to clean this brush roll off really well. We're going to cut the hair off, and then we can wash these bristles, and then we'll also wash this assembly and get it all cleaned out. Okay, one thing to point out here is once you get your screws back in, you do have to put a little bit of down pressure around this area. I think there's another little clip here on this. So you just want to make sure that this is nice and flush here. So when I push this back down in place, it didn't go super easy. So I just had to put a little bit of pressure here on this side, and it kind of popped in. So just want to point that out. If you struggle with that, that'll be helpful. All right, so we've got the brush cleaned out, we've got the nozzle cleaned out, and everything's looking good. We're going to put this end cap back in. Don't forget to put this washer back on. Okay. All right, so I ended up having to put this in my bench vise just to give me a free hand to get this back installed a little easier. So hope it goes, that process goes easy for you. But you're just gonna pop this back in place here, right like that. And then when you're putting the nozzle back in place, you've got two little hooks, one on each side here. And those are gonna insert right down in this opening here. So you're gonna kind of hinge it forward like that, and then it pops down there like that. So, all right, so I hope this was helpful. And if you think I'm gonna have a happy customer, just give the like button. If you think I'm gonna have a nice happy customer, hit the like button. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll see you next time.